Hello, comic book junkies. It's the Frog Queen here, and today I'm coming at you with another episode. It is from one of my series that I've been doing for a long time called What I'm Currently Reading, where I just talk about what comics I'm currently reading. Sometimes I throw in a couple actual novels, but it's mostly just comics and graphic novels. So let's just jump into it. So I try to ad-lib these episodes and not stick to a rigorous script like many of my comic reviews, where I'm just showing you artwork and then sticking to a script, and it's pretty rigorous. It takes a long time to make those videos. These videos are kind of nice because I can just kind of wing it and talk about the books as, my first impressions and first things that come to mind. So the first graphic novel I will talk about is the manga To Your Eternity, Volume 3. I have talked about 1 and 2 in the past. I really did like this. I got recommended it by Sarah Horrocks, I believe, and she really knows how to pick good manga. So this is a sci-fi. I don't know if it takes place on Earth. It doesn't really say. It's full of mysticism, maybe aliens. You just don't know. There's a lot of mystery, but there's a character who's a shapeshifter, and they land on this planet with humans, of course, and I wouldn't say like they're more medieval type humans, like I'm thinking maybe medieval Japan or something. Volume 3 focuses on this cute little character here who is a little boy whose face was disfigured and he has to wear a mask. And of course he meets our shapeshifter, who's now in this form. And this form was the character from the first volume. Essentially every time somebody dies, if he knows them, he can replicate their form. That's the idea. But you don't really know anything about it. There's this mysterious dude who shows up and he's like, I have created you, or something like that. And then, you're just guessing at this point what the purpose is. I've been back to reading a lot of traditional novels lately, and so I actually finally sat down and read American Gods by Neil Gaiman. It was great, heavy read. I actually managed to get through it in like a couple days because I was dedicated. Really, really good. I don't know if I should even bother explaining the plot, but essentially America's new gods are the internet and all these pieces of technology and things like Starbucks, like corporations and things. And that means that all the gods that have existed through the ages in all different cultures are kind of being phased out and forgotten, and that's the idea. And of course, there's a main character, and he's kind of responsible for helping the old gods get rid of the new ones and not be forgotten. That's essentially the gist. It's much more complicated than that, but it's quite the adventure. I actually wanted to read some old Star Wars books. Now, these have been declared by Disney to not be canon. These are the ones from the 90s. This one's from the 90s, I believe. It's A.C. Crispin's Paradise Snare, and it's volume 1 of the Han Solo trilogy. You can actually see some parallels, some things that were taken from this book and kind of stuffed into the Solo movie. Just a little bit kind of about his childhood, not much, not as specific as the movie. And, the love interest is a lot different. Paradise Snare is basically, as soon as Solo gets off the planet he was kind of enslaved to, he smuggles himself into this planet where essentially it's run by this cult. So the cult is, of course, using people as slaves, misleading them, as cults do, and to make money. And it's basically run by these bizarre aliens. Anyways, you don't really get to know much about Han. You don't meet Chewbacca or anything like that. In fact, it kind of explains how Han knows how to speak Wookiee, and that's because when he's enslaved in his homeworld, he does actually make friends with this female Wookiee who kind of acts like a mother to him. You do actually get to know that where Han actually came from. Like, he's an orphan, but this is his family, they pointed out, and Solo is the last name of the family, which is kind of funny, whereas, of course, they did not include that in the movie, but of course, Disney declared this is not proper canon, so we just act like it's an alternate universe, I guess, now. These stories are really fun to read, though. I mean, I think Crispin is a good writer, but, you know, there's a lot of lulls in the story where you're just like, I'm kind of bored now. You know, thank God it's only like, 300 pages? Yeah. Like almost exactly 300 pages, so that helps. I finally got to read volume 6 of Deadly Class. I've been waiting for this to come in at the library for a long time just because I've been like a little bit broke. As you know, I've started my new business. Sorry, there's like one fruit fly in the house and it's flying around my coffee. It's driving me insane. Anyway, so it's fantastic. As you know, there's a movie coming out, a television show coming out, and I think it's going to be great. I got to meet Craig, who, of course, is the artist, at TCAF this year, and he signed my copy of Volume 1, so that was fantastic. He's so good that I kind of just want to rip off his art style 100% for my own comics. So maybe I'm just going to start drawing panels of Deadly Class until I get it down. I don't know. But he's so good, and I really like his style, so I'm reading volume 7 right now, and then I'll be pretty much caught up, and yeah, I hope we get more news about the show soon. I think they did announce casting. I'm terrible at paying attention to TV and movies, so I don't know who a lot of actors are, unless they were acting before 2001, before I graduated from high school and had cable. So, yeah. We'll see who it is. It's probably no one I've ever heard of. Something that I did want to do an actual proper art video for, where I show you the art and I give you my commentary and I talk more in depth about the comic, is the new Empty Man. Of course, you remember Cullen Bunn and Vanessa Del Rey had released Empty Man back in, I think it was 2014, and it got picked up for a television show, or sorry, for a film. My bad, not a show, a film, which I think is actually probably the worst way to present this comic. I think it should have been a television show. But anyways, it got picked up for a film, and I think it's... Anyway, regardless about the film, the only good thing about the film that I can tell is that the Boom Studios owner, Ross Ritchie, is producing it, so he does have some say to make sure it's not completely off track of the comic, I guess. And I don't even know if it's loosely or fully based on the first miniseries. I have no idea. Regardless, they have done another story arc, and it's just come out. So it's pretty... The first issue just kind of introduces what the Empty Man is. And of course, if you had read the first series, and you'd know that it's about this bizarre plague that has struck mankind. It takes place in modern day, and there's two detectives that are kind of trying to figure out what it is. Of course, it's basically a plague that drives people mad, and then it has them basically become homicidal and mostly suicidal. But they start seeing the Empty Man, and you don't know what the Empty Man is as an entity, if he's a hallucination, if he's like a parasite. You just don't know that much about it from the beginning. But yeah, the artwork's fantastic because Vanessa Del Rey is amazing. Yeah, I think this is definitely one you want to check out. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. But anyways, these are just my quick thoughts. I was going to do an actual proper review of it. It might just end up being a review article on thefrogqueen.com, which I'm getting better about updating. So this past Wednesday, I just saw the birth debut of Middle West #1 from Image Comics, and this one is one that I've been waiting for a while. Of course, it's Scotty Young is actually writing it, but he's not doing the artwork for it. It's George Corona, and I believe you would remember me talking about George quite a bit, especially when Feathers came out. So he's actually doing the artwork for this. Scotty wrote it. I think actually they did co-write it, but regardless, I think Scotty's doing some covers, some variant covers, but he's not doing the internal artwork. It's pretty cool. It's difficult to understand where it takes place from the first issue, and I have written an article on it in depth, and I keep meaning to actually put out a proper video, and then I was like, maybe I should just wait till issue 2 comes out. I don't know, so we'll see, but it's very interesting, and kind of, I want to say supernatural. It's not really supernatural. It's more whimsical, and maybe a little bit mythological. It's interesting. Definitely check out my website when I post an article about it, because I'll talk about it more in depth, because it's quite different. I would say it's one of those genre-defying comics that people are always talking about. I love it when I get these press releases, and if the person writing the press release doesn't know how to describe the comic, they're like, it's genre-defying, and I'm like, okay, sure. Whatever that means. So my current obsession in comics is actually this series called Unnatural that came out from Image this summer, and the trade paperback just came out, so I consumed that very fast. I didn't think I was going to like this series. The sound of it just sounded a little bit, maybe not something I would enjoy, but I really liked it, and I really got into the artwork, despite the main character being an anthropomorphic pig. It was really, really good and beautiful. So I can't wait for the next part of the story to come out. December 5th is when it's coming out, so that's not that far away. It's like 2 weeks, and I cannot wait, because it's really an interesting story. And I mean, it does draw parallels to problems that we're facing today, when it comes to gender equality, when it comes to basically, you know, can same-sex couples get married? I mean, in Canada it's not an issue, but I know in the States there's still lots of states where they can't. You can't marry someone of the same sex. And let's see, it also addresses racism, which is really cool. Although it's, you know, disguised as speciesism. But because basically you have the main character who's a pig, and she's having erotic dreams about a wolf, which also makes this story very furry friendly if you're a furry. But anyway, it's probably one of my favorite comics right now, so you might want to check it out. I'm definitely going to put out a video on it this week. Maybe I will wait until the new issue comes out, but I don't know if I can, because I just had so much to say about it, and I wrote so much about it, and then I didn't do anything with it yet, so we'll see. Further to that, of course, I'm, you know, reading so many different comics. You know, still reading Britannia. I think it's just about done. Proxima Centauri by Farrell Dalrymple, which is fantastic. I've been reading Farrell's work for a very, very long time, and this is kind of like a world that kind of spinned off of the Wrenchies, I believe. Proxima Centauri is a planet or dimension or whatever, mentioned at some point in the Wrenchies. I believe it was the Wrenchies. I think it was. I can't remember which one it was now. I'm also reading like a bunch of Black Mask stuff. Let me just see. I have to look at my list. Oh, Blackbird was a series I just started reading and I really enjoyed. Didn't think I would. I think I mentioned it last month. Black Badge is fantastic. It's Matt Kint and Tyler Jenkins. If you haven't read it, check it out. I think it's fantastic. I think Jeff Lemire did some covers for it too, which is kind of cool. They're not bad. I believe that was Black Badge was Image, I think. Let me think. Was it Image or Boom? I think it was Boom. Yeah, it's definitely Boom. I remember the Boom logo on it. I remember that. Let's see. What else am I reading? It's so hard to sit here and actually remember them all. Oh, I had just gotten the Life is Strange issue number 1 from Titan. If you've played the video game, this would probably be a book for you. I really like the writers, and the art's very lovely. it picks up at the end of the game and it imagines one of the possible futures. Of course, if you played the game, then you know that there are several different futures, different outcomes, so you can play it over and over again. I have friends who have like played the game like 100 times, and then I have friends that like cosplay the characters from the game. So yeah, it's pretty heavy. It has a pretty heavy cult following, and so this is the first comic, I believe. And Emma Vicelli, I believe I'm saying her last name right, is the writer, who also is a fantastic artist, but is not doing the art on this project, but they got another fantastic artist to do the art. I feel like maybe this episode is running a bit longer than I normally do, simply because I haven't done one in a while, and I was trying to cover some of the stuff that I'm reading right now, as opposed to the stuff that I've read over the last 2 months, because that would make this video just absolutely ridiculously long. Yeah, let's not do that. So I'm going to try and do these. I originally wanted to do them weekly, then I was trying to do them monthly, and now it's like whenever I have time. Definitely want to do them more often though, because I mean, in the run of a week I've read so many comics, but it's hard to find the time to report on them all while working and doing everything else. That being said, I'm trying to get better at it. Especially with the videos, I'm trying to get this lighting thing right. I'm terrible at lighting. It's just not something I'm good at, and I'm going to try and improve the quality of my videos. You know, I did that screen stuff for a while, and then I don't know, I just didn't like it. It didn't look good. It looked really unnatural. And so I was like, I don't know if I like having the screen behind me. You know, it's fine for gaming, which I never have time to do anymore. But I don't know if it fits for this kind of sitting down and talking about comics and just trying to interact with people kind of thing. So anyways, ramble. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, like, watching my videos in general. I really appreciate it. I love hearing from you guys and hearing what kinds of comics you're actually reading, because I'm then like, oh, maybe I should be reading that, maybe I've missed that. You know, I don't read a lot of the big two, but here and there, you know, I'm picking up more DC and Marvel here and there. I'm really getting back into Valiant comics again, because I was really heavy into them for a while, and then I kind of backed off, and you know, I guess you just go through phases and stuff. But anyways, yeah, please check out my other social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram's the one I use the most. Yeah, and Twitter I still use fairly often, and I'm awful on Facebook, so I think I update it once a week maybe. So definitely, if you want to interact with me at all, I would suggest Instagram, and you can find all those links in the comments below. Anyways, thanks so much for joining me today, and until next time, read something good.